Cut-ups originate with the Dadaists, but grew under the influence of surrealism, although Andre Breton ultimately disowned them and kicked one of the best of the cut-up writers, sorry, can't recall his name now, out of the surrealist movement. Kind of funny, that. But the modern master is, of course, William S. Burroughs. Starting with Naked Lunch, Burroughs, who credited Brion Gysin as the co-originator, composed a series of cut-up novels that are the best example of the written cut-up. That's the standard history anyway. I think one could easily argue that James Joyce's Ulysses is filled with cut-ups, and Finnegans Wake is the ultimate language-based cut-up of the modernists. I began writing cut-ups seriously about 3 or 4 years ago and publishing them in a blog. The response was a yawning, almost universal indifference. Unlike Burroughs, who cut up his own writings, I used written materials found almost exclusively in the wonderful Internet archive. The common thread was that I started with topics that have fascinated me beginning in childhood. The Civil War, Hitler, the Vietnam War, fairy tales, horror tales, Dutch Schultz, Billy the Kid, the Universal monsters, Vitus Bering, Rasputin, Lenin, witch trials, Nostradamus. The list is endless for a bookworm such as I was from childhood on. Next, I would find some totally unrelated material, but of an antique setting usually. The 1920s seemed to be the richest source for me early on, in the form of books on how to typewrite, newspaper articles about marathon dancing, how-to manuals, academic studies of all types. These became the second element. I would excerpt about 500 words from 2 or more of these, something I was interested in and something totally disparate, and run them through a cut-up generator. The best I ever found is the Lazarus Corporation text mixing desk. You should donate to him if you use his machine, but it's free. Now this was the easy part. I then took the resulting text and rewrote it so that it would make grammatical sense. 1,000 words usually ended up about half that long. I would then create a collage picture to illustrate my piece. Collage is, of course, well known by most, and really the first cut-ups were visual. Cut-ups are simply a collage of words, or phrases, really. I did this for about 2 or 3 years and published over 200 in my blog. But the response continued to be total indifference. I decided that this generation was just too lazy to read, so I started doing audio cut-ups. These were mostly absurdist, mixing dialogue from old radio serials, mostly found in the Internet archive. I then illustrated them with my own collages. I did about 20 of these. I used GarageBand to create them, and initially they appeared in my blog. But I didn't seem to get a much better response to these. So finally, lack of an audience pretty much deflated me to the point that I decided enough indifference was enough. I shut down the blog after saving what I considered the best pieces. On April 10th, 2020, my son John died of a drug overdose. To pull myself out of the pit of grief, and when I was finally able to function at all, I first created a website about John. Then it occurred to me to go the next step with my cut-ups. I would recite my cut-ups, add a musical background, again, something totally disparate found in the archive, and add film, also from the archive, and put it on the YouTube. I had at some point discovered the Prelinger archive, which was my go-to source for the visual accompaniment. Both music and film would be cut up as well. I used a mixture of GarageBand and iMovie to create the final product. I've now created about 30 of these. And so here I am, still seeking internet fame at age 65. Pretty sad, but damn, I love these cut-ups.